Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cams rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. Guess what? I'm still doing interviews with the City of Roman Forest council members and the ones that are running for that position. Fortunately, it's a good, healthy race and things are going on. I've got Fallon Bulli in today, and she has drawn an opponent, Larry Sanders, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ran the last round and unfortunately didn't make it. But Fallon's been on the council now for quite a while. How long's it been?
Officially, I want to say since February.
Since February, yes, that's a good
This
while.
year.
And so, we're going to drill down to some of these issues and see if we can find out what her stance is on it. And again, guys, I just wanted to mention it's important for us to be intelligent voters and to know what we're doing when we go to the ballot box and cast our ballot. Anyway, good morning, Fallon. How are you?
Good morning, Hank. I'm doing good. How about you?
Fantastic. Just, trying to make it through all these interviews. It's weird because it seems like I'm asking the same questions of everyone, but I'm trying to maintain a level of fairness and also, some transparency on our end as well. So I'm going to ask you the same line of questioning I've asked everybody else, except I'm going to get really, really tough. No. So what brought you to want to be a council member for the City of Roman Forest?
So I feel like as a resident, no matter where I stay, I'm always involved. I have an interest in just improvement and being able to help any way that I can in whatever capacity that may look like or the need at the moment. And so I've just never been a person to really sit on the sidelines and complain, if you will, but more so make sure that I'm trying to be a part of solutions and a positive voice, really.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So is there anything since your entry into city council that you've issued and kind of championed? Is there any ideas that you've started to work on that you're trying to get implemented?
Yes, so obviously the drainage issue is a hot topic for our city, and actually, having moved into the area, I wasn't fully aware of those concerns, those historical concerns. But obviously, having been here and being on the council, I've learned it's definitely a sore spot. So for me, I'm really wanting to make sure that I'm being an advocate from both sides for the community as well as the city, and making sure that everyone is informed as much as they can be, understand what the issues are, where they lie, and then also be aware that we're actually taking steps to try to find solutions for that. So for me, it was an agenda item to let's put this drainage workshop on the calendar. Let's start making steps and having meetings and discussions with our city to let them know that we hear you. We are just as concerned. Obviously, we are residents of the city as well, so we're impacted to some capacity. But I didn't want it to our city, our community, to feel like it's just something that we're putting by the side and focusing on other things. So to really understand where we need to go, we have to understand where we've been. So a lot of that comes with understanding the history, how where the problems lie, how people are being affected, and then what are some of the steps that we can start taking to reach solutions and all of that. So that's what we've been working on. That's what I'm trying to push, and really also too to help residents understand where the responsibilities lie, because it's not just a clear-cut type thing. It could be the city, it could be the owner, it could be or the developer. So if that, I feel like that will help just people better understand what's going on, instead of just we got all this flooding and nothing's being done about it. So yeah, that's one of them.
I think it's weird that the average elevation for Montgomery County is 143 feet above sea level. So we're 143 feet up. How's water not?
Right. Yeah.
But I guess topographically we're kind of like a small fishbowl because it's not real hilly here. And then I think we've created a lot of dams, boundaries, and things like that. 99 is like a big dam.
Yeah.
When you think about it. and so our outflows have changed, and then we've taken out a lot of trees, which suck up a lot of water. We've poured a lot of concrete, which displaces a lot. So I think that our flow rates and the outflows and all that are going to change as things move forward, and it's going to be hard to gauge what we need to do to get the water out of here, because that may change in 5 years.
Right, yeah.
So I mean,
as it's already changing as we see, yeah. And people don't realize that when you start taking up a bunch of trees, I mean, the water has to go somewhere, and people may not fully understand how our trees can contribute to the environment.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So construction's a big factor. Just growth itself is a big factor. When you think of roads and everything else, and then a lot of this stuff still has old infrastructure from way back when it was just country out here. And flooding wasn't that big of an issue because not that many people.
Right.
Yeah. So now we've created a lot, and we're looking at going, we should have thought about flooding maybe.
Exactly. And the growth is definitely happening. And so that's one of the other things that I want to make sure that I'm a part of, in the essence of developing and, trying to sustain the growth as much as possible, because, we can't stop it, but we can do our best to be as involved and knowledgeable as possible and not make a lot of the same mistakes that happened before we even got here. So, we're obviously working with the company to come in, and that's what they specialize in doing, to help our city, sustain with the growth and develop it and get more people involved in decisions and things like that. So I'm excited about that one.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
So since you've drawn an opponent, what uniquely qualifies you to be a city council member? I mean, what educational skills or what other skills do you bring to the table that you think would be advantageous for the city?
Well, as a general qualification to be a city council member, I think it really just starts with wanting to be a concerned and involved resident, because as I said before, many people can talk about things, but we need actions to get things done. So again, that's always been my record, prior to when we spoke before, I had served on the HOA board for like 5 years. So I'm aware of having to make those harsh decisions. I'm aware of having to work with the budget that you have. It's not a magic trick. You can literally only use what you have, and that you don't. You have to have a plan to put in place to work towards that goal. And and the fact that I've been on the board already, or as a city council member, now I have the ability to not just see things from a residential perspective, but now as a city council member, and you can get the insight from both sides. And so it's we hear you. I hear you. We have those concerns, but also knowing reality wise what is possible. It takes time to do these things. And also, I'm very involved in the community. I work with Texas for Vaccine Choice, which is about maintaining people's rights and freedoms to their bodies, basically, in essence, like knowing what you're putting in your body and those possible side effects. So just really communicating to people, the knowledge base, have an understanding of what you're doing, why you're doing, the possible side effects and things like that. And then, in the community, as far as the church and things, we have a lot of different events that we put on for families, couples, and things like that. So.
Okay, real good. All right, so I know that, a lot's going on at the city recently. We had the city secretary leave, and then the finance manager had resigned, and now our city administrator, Tim, has left. I think his last day was last Thursday. How do you feel about all that? I mean, what do you think is going on? What do you think we can do to turn that around?
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think we're at with all that? Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is, because it left us with one city employee. Now, of course, there's everybody on the PD side, but that's a whole different department.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling, because I appreciate all the staff, honestly, and my time being able to work with them it's been such a great learning curve to really get the insight on how things work behind the scenes. And they don't get enough praise and acknowledgement for that, but those were some of those were personal choices for various reasons, and we don't have control over that. We can just try to hear and their concerns and try to make the best decisions going forward. And so yeah, it wasn't great to hear that, because we are in a time where, again, our city is vastly growing, and we want to try to have some type of consistency and sustainability and things like that, and that can only be done when you have the staff to do it. And so I understand that we have some financial restraints. That was really a big part of it. The change with council coming up, was one of the concerns of what things are going to be. Okay. And so I can understand from their perspective of what that would be like. And, everyone has to make a decision that works best for them. On our end, as a city council member, or all of us really, what we can try to do is just get some good qualified people in, and make sure they have the same vision and passion that we want for our city, and obviously experience, and that they are in alignment with where we're trying to go. To improve. And once we get that good foundation, we can kind of build from that and move forward.
Sure. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I've asked a couple of people what they see for the future of Roman Forest. What do you see for Roman Forest in 5 years? But I kind of want to rephrase it a little bit. With growth and everything that's going on, what do you expect Roman Forest to look like in 5 or 10 years? I mean, what do you think is actually going to happen? I mean, do you think that it'll build out and you'll have to annex more in order to continue to grow, or do you think those boundaries are already set? I mean, how do you think the city's going to look? More commercial enterprise, and
well, with the fact that there are more businesses moving in, I feel like it's gonna definitely have that commercial feel to it. But my goal and my hopes are that we can still preserve Roman Forest as this little, quiet, country, peaceful city that we have, but being able to sustain with the growth, with some boundaries, right? And so, taking those steps to plan ahead and not just wait for things to happen will help make sure that happens. That the idea of annexing some other cities, that would be great if they can, we can all come together and decide on what that looks like, and so that we can still have this, preservation of what we know Roman Forest and surrounding areas to be, but on the positive side, obviously. And so those are obviously going to be conversations to be had, but I hope that the growth is going to be beneficial for everyone while still sustaining why we all like being out here.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to maintain that small town feel while you're watching everything expand beyond your visual horizon. I mean, the same thing happened in Splendora, New Caney, and all these other areas around here. Everything's kind of gotten so big now that it's just, I don't know, it almost feels like Houston moving in, But,
well, I try to talk with people that have already done it before, where we're trying to go. So I do have my resources and mentors I speak with that have been in positions like mine, and they've done what we're trying to do. So a little guidance there, and that's what I plan to just continue bringing to the city and this platform while I'm here. So that we can ensure that it looks like that, because it is possible. It is possible to preserve the ordinances that protect the city,
right?
But at the same time, to not just be like you're stuck in a time period that doesn't exist anymore, because again, we see the changes happening around us, but you can control it as best as you can. So yeah.
Has the city been working with TACUS and people like that? I know that internet's always been a big deal for most of the citizens of Roman Forest, and I feel for anybody who can't get a decent internet signal. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. So I mean, has the city been working closely with these providers to ensure that it's coming in and it's going to be stable and such and so forth, or is it something they're just kind of doing on their own?
So we did talk with Takis, and we had a lot of questions and outlined some things just to see what that looked like for them coming in. I know they've already started. Where they're at as far as completion, I don't know that specifically, but to my understanding, I mean, there are more options now than it was even 2 years ago.
Really?
You know, for the internet. So hopefully, if you had an issue with the internet before, now you have some more options than you did once before. So
hopefully so.
Yeah, I mean, I know AT&T's out here, and then Takis. I've heard about them. I haven't actually personally used them, but with the fiber options and things like that,
I've heard good stuff about Takis, but of course, when it comes to customer service, I think most big businesses fail at that. That's a good point of failure for most. But as far as their actual service goes, I've heard it's good.
That's good, yeah.
So, we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, if we can just be a resource of information, should it not go the way that we think it should. I mean, as a customer myself to an internet provider, I mean, if I don't like it, I'm going to be very vocal about, hey, I'm paying for something that I'm not getting, and going through the proper channels to ensure that happens. So,
Pool and park. So what do you think of the pool and park? Pool's been a big point of contention for a lot of years. I think that it's almost getting to the point now to where that pool's going to have to be probably refinished and maybe even rebuilt in some ways. I did talk with one of the public works guys at Roman Forest, and he said he thought maybe the pool had a pretty significant leak somewhere. So what do you think? I mean, we're looking at probably a lot of money to fix the pool and park too. So what are the plans for that?
It definitely needs some renovations and some updates, and it is a topic that we haven't forgotten, but it's just a matter of trying to really deal with the fires that need to be put out right now.
Yeah, so flooding and stuff like that first.
And staff. We need the staff for our city. So, but it's definitely my goal to ensure that, we can get that updated and, obviously functioning like it needs to be. And to my understanding, there's so many grants out there too. So maybe we can, just lean into that direction, as well as, maybe on MSED and say, hey, how can y'all help us with this? Because it still is a public pool. And so with that being said, then maybe we can get more public funding, grants and stuff like that from the county. But it does, it needs some updates, the parks as well. And we have talked about forming additional committees. Right now, we only have the events committee for Roman Forest, but it was a goal to have like a parks and recreation committee, even one for like the history, because Roman Forest does have so much history that a lot of people don't know about.
Oh yeah, there's some pretty rich history in Roman Forest. I still learn stuff all the time. I'm like, really?
We recently had a donuts and coffee event, and
nobody called me for that one.
Really? How did you?
You had me at donuts. So it's crazy.
Well, hopefully we'll just keep that going, and it just won't be the one time, but it was the first time.
Okay.
And it was nice speaking with some of the residents that have been here since like the 70s, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was here, or that was the intention. So I'm sure I'm not the only person that didn't know some of this history, like you said. And so but that is one of the goals. To answer your question, parks, the pool, with trying to get a park and recreations committee, perhaps we can get a group of people that will just volunteer their time to help beautify what we can do, and
just focus on the issue,
and offset some of the costs too, So, but we need some updates.
Cool. Okay. So you said you were on an HOA before this. Was that an elected position? I don't know how HOAs
So you do get voted.
Well.
Yeah, you still get voted in by the residents of that community. Yeah.
So that was your first elected position. But y'all don't fall under the Texas Open Meetings Act and stuff with the HOA, do you?
We do. We
really?
Still do.
Wow.
Yeah, because once there's so many people, there's quorum and things like that. So we have to be very careful with how those meetings were conducted as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about live streaming the meetings as opposed to recording and putting them on after?
I'd be for it. I mean, because I'm aware that everyone can't make every meeting for various reasons. So, I mean, we have technology. Let's use it if possible. So, I think that would be great if we could do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. And do you have a website or anything at this point?
I have an email address with the city. If anyone needs to contact me, I can share with you.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah. Let me just blow it up.
All right.
Yeah. I actually have a card that might be quicker.
Okay.
Yeah, and then of course, at the meetings, they can always come to me directly and speak with me. But the email address I have is F as in Frank, B as in boy, ULLI, so FBulli at rftx.org.
Okay. FBulli at rftx.org. Okay, and that's BULLI.
Yes.
Okay.
I always like to say bullseye without the S.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm the average Roman Forest citizen, and I'm going to be voting, and I haven't quite made a decision yet. So what are you going to say to me to make me want to vote for you?
Well, it's the commitment that I have, and the experience. Is not my first rodeo in trying to run and maintain an area. Maybe it's not a whole city, but a community. And so we definitely need people who are experienced to some capacity on what that looks like. I share all the same concerns and values that most of our residents have for improvement, sustaining our community. Obviously, it is my passion too to let's just put out some of these fires regarding the drainage, even the permits. I know that's a big one, and I'm all for taking the steps so that everyone can be informed, but also feel like as a homeowner you have the freedom to just do the necessary repairs without having someone just hovering over you. But we want to make sure things are safe. So just kind of aligning, what does that look like? A lot of people don't realize that you can have ordinances to protect the cosmetics of the
sure to maintain the same look and feel. Right.
So just letting people know the difference between ordinances and permits and inspections and things like that, because I know a lot of people felt like, oh, we don't have permits and inspections, there goes our neighborhood. Not necessarily true, so, but really advocating for those sore spots. And then we talk about taxes and things like that, and I'm not for raising taxes. I don't want to have to do that, which is why we're looking at so many other alternatives to be able to fund some of these issues like the drainage, because we don't want to have to raise the taxes on residents. So
you're talking about bond issuance?
Right.
Okay.
Right, yeah. And so those are the things that I would bring. Just the fact that, I'm here, I'm reliable, is in it for the long haul.
Okay.
And I'm not for, high turnovers if we can avoid that, just being about what I say and doing that.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to talk about permits too much. So what's your stance on the whole permit thing? And it's kind of a point of contention, and I understand both sides.
Yeah.
So I understand that you do need permits for some things to maintain the same look and feel, and of course a level of safety for your residents and such, and the neighbors and things like that. But I mean, do you think that we're at a point to where the permits maybe are a little too extensive or too cumbersome, or I really don't know, because I'm not a Roman Forest resident, but I have heard some of the conversations about it. So where do you land on permits?
I think it needs to be fair and it needs to be feasible, because especially if you think about a new homeowner, you come in and what are the things that you typically like to do? You want to put a fence up. You might want to extend your driveway and things like that, or put some remodeling, not remodeling, but additions to your home,
Sure.
a pool, and
outer buildings, things like that. Yeah.
So there's this a long, extensive process to do all of those things, and it gets costly when you start talking about a permit for that and inspections for that, and the wait, and that could vary, for different reasons. But when you're working with a contractor and things are being held up, you're not on their time, and they may have other clients that they have to get. So it could be a fairly easy project. Now it's really stretched out. And me personally, I had to experience that just with the fence, and so it's some of the requirements, the verbiage is not really clear, right? And so it's hard to communicate with all parties if you don't fully understand what the requirements are or what needs to be done. And not only that, if you're dealing with some staff shortages, so now we're looking at the time frame. And for me personally, like again with the fence, whatever the requirements were, it literally changed shortly after we started building the fence. So it wasn't even no longer a requirement. So we actually lost money doing that. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. So, but I feel like the verbiage just needs to be a little bit more clear. The process, where people can understand it, it needs to be user friendly. The way things that we can do online and all of that. So there's some areas for improvement, but still, I share the same concern that I want to make sure people just not going all willy nilly and doing things that don't really look that great, or just not being mindful of their neighbor and not concerned of their safety. So that's why I'm kind of emphasizing, let's make sure there certain things are added or clear in the ordinances, but things that really should be like inspected, and make sure that it's not a hazard. Those will be there. So kind of the happy medium, if you will. But
I wonder how it got so complicated to start out with.
Probably, too many changes, with people are, trying to maintain the information that's out there. I mean, I don't know if everyone has done, I know everyone hasn't done what Jerry has done. Reisner have gone in and review all of this stuff and see what needs to be changed and updated. So I really, thank him, appreciate him for doing that.
Yeah, Jerry's a hard worker for sure.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for the city and still does. I think he's still going in and answering phones and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can't keep Jerry down, that's for sure.
Well, appreciate him for sure.
Yeah. So you think that I guess the permit structure should stay in place and maybe have the same permits, just an easier method by which to obtain, pay for, get inspections, stuff like that.
I don't think all of them need to stay in place, the fence being one of them, because I feel like, okay, it's a fence, but just make sure it's not an eyesore, right? You want to have those kind of conditions and things like that. But there are a few more, and which, we have these workshops and it's been an ongoing agenda item to just work through. So it's not going to be something like just solved in one day, but I feel like we're closer to a solution versus where we were. So
new budget year, I guess, starts in October, right? So how are we with the budget? Everything good?
Yeah, I mean, we had to make some tough calls. It was some hard decisions were made, but we wanted to make sure that we treated that like our own money and being, just as wise with it as possible. So we're good wise, in as budget wise, not really going over, but it's not a lot of wiggle room. So
there never is.
No
matter how much money you intake, there's never going to be wiggle room because there's always going to be something to spend it on. So I can dig it.
Yeah.
Well, Fallon, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And when does early voting start again? It's
October 21st.
October 21st. And then Election Day is November the 5th? Wow.
Yeah. So
that's going to be the big push, I guess. You'll be up 24 hours a day between then and then.
It's moving by fast, but it's coming. It's here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing the result, and I appreciate you coming in. I think you've got some good, solid ideas, and I think you've been good on the board so far, too.
Thank you. I
So.
appreciate that.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, there you have it. Fallon Bulli, and she is definitely a contender in this race. She's drawn an opponent, Larry Sanders. I think I'm going to be meeting with him this weekend. He'll be the final interview, and then we're going to schedule a live forum at the City of Roman Forest where we're going to let the citizens ask some questions and let everybody give their 2-minute speech. So let's be intelligent voters. This isn't the only race to consider. There are others as well. So make sure you get information on those too. I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.